everybody! Welcome to the Jayda InStitches show. The time has come to add a border to our 2017 calendar blanket. This has been such a fun project, and we've loved doing it so much, and we've super loved seeing everybody's responses every month, every time we posted a brand new surprise square. So thank you all so much for coming along on this adventure with us. It's been a riot, and I can't believe that 2017 is almost done. If you haven't had a chance to assemble all your blanket squares together yet, then you want to make sure you do that in the order that we made them, or in the order that best suits your climate. Shout out to the Aussies and the Kiwis who've been doing this along with me this year. If you need help assembling your blanket squares, we did a tutorial on that back in June, and we'll put a link to that in the description box down below. And for any of you who are just tuning in now and missed this blanket or missed one of the squares, we'll make sure there's links to all of the square tutorials in the description box as well. So let's talk borders. Here it is. It's nice and simple. We're going to sandwich it with the same border color that you were using for all of your blanket squares. So for me that was white. It's a 4-row border. There is a bonus 5th row if you have the leftover yarn and you want to use it, but you don't have to do it. And the 2 middle rows of our border are colored. So you can choose to make both those rows the same color if you want a real solid, powerful punch. You can make them both different like I did, or you can assemble all of your scraps together in one wonderful self-striping ball and work it all into your border. Don't worry, because as long as you use the colors that you used in the rest of your blanket, you're going to sandwich it with your border colors, it will work, and you can do that too if you don't have a lot of leftover yarn. But you can see that I used 2 signature InStitches colors, Sunshine Yellow and Blue Sky Blue. I tend to use those a lot, and I use them in my blanket a lot. And you can see how everywhere I used the yellow and the blue, it punches it out in the rest of the blanket. So that might be something you want to keep in mind when you're choosing the colors for your border. It's really simple, it's not very difficult, and so if you're still new to assembling blankets and putting on borders, you're going to appreciate this because it's very easy stitching and there's not really any counting involved, so another plus there. We wanted to take a quick moment and thank everybody who took part in our Black Friday sale over at our Etsy shop. We really appreciate all the support you gave us for the show, and thank you so much. So if you're new and you are still assembling your blanket and you were looking for a couple of the written copies of any of these blanket squares, you'll find those in our Etsy shop, and we'll make sure there's a link to it in the description box down below. But enough chatter. Let's grab our hooks, grab our yarn, head on over to the craft table, and we will put the border on our 2017 calendar blanket. For our border, you're going to want about 100 grams per row. Now, rows 1 and row 4 are going to be in the same border color you put around all of your squares. For me, that is white. For rows 2 and 3 of your border, you can make them both the same color, or you can make them each a different color like I'm doing. Or if you have a ton of little scraps left over, you can tie them all together into one big wonder ball, and you can work both rows 2 and 3 in your own self-striping yarn. And because these would be the same colors you used in your blanket, they're not going to clash. So that's entirely up to you. You can do rows 2 and 3 in a solid color, in 2 different colors, or in all of your colors. You're going to need a pair of scissors, a yarn needle, and the same hook that you've used to make all of your blanket squares. For me, that's a 5.5 millimeter or an I9. And once you've got all that together, we can put on our border. You're going to begin with your border color, and for me, that's white. We're going to start in the top right-hand corner of our blanket, so that would be the March square in the top right-hand corner. Grab your yarn and make a slip knot. And we're going to join our yarn in that corner space with a slip stitch. Chain 1 and single crochet into the same space. Chain 2, this becomes the corner space for the next row, and single crochet into the same space. So the corner spaces all get single crochet, chain 2, single crochet. And now you're going to single crochet very carefully into the top of every single stitch. So those would be 3 single crochets across the top of each shell. And when you get to the chain 1 space, you can single crochet right into the space. You don't have to try and fish out the actual chain stitch. And then single crochet into the top of each stitch from the previous shell. And then into the chain 1 space. And you're going to work that all the way across. I'll show you what to do when you get to your first junction. Here we are at the first junction, or the first seam where our 2 squares meet. You're going to have several of these around your blanket, and this is how we're going to work the border row 1 across it. So you're going to finish working single crochets across the last shell across a square. Then there's a corner space, so you're going to work a single crochet into that. Then you've got the seam itself before you have the next corner space. You're going to actually work a single crochet into the seam. So you're going to work it underneath a couple of your stitches that you put together your seam with. If you single crocheted or slip stitched your seams together, just slip it in underneath the edge stitch. If you sewed them together like I do, then just slip it in under the edge stitches. Then single crochet into the next corner space of the next square and continue working a single crochet in every single stitch and every single space all the way across. And I'll catch up with you at the next corner. Once you've single crocheted all the way across the top of your first side, making sure that you work a single crochet in the corner space, the seam edge, and the corner space of each junction all the way across, you'll get to your first corner. Into that corner space, you're going to work a single crochet, 2 chains, and a single crochet. That's it for the corners. Then you turn your blanket and you start working down the long side. Same thing, single crochet in the top of every stitch, single crochet in every chain 1 space, and single crochet in each corner space, seam edge, and corner space all the way down. Work the same thing across the bottom and the other side, and I will see you back up where we started. Once you get all the way back round to the beginning, you're going to join to the first single crochet you made in the corner with a slip stitch, and then you can fasten off your yarn because we're going to change colors now. So leave yourself enough tail that you can weave it in using your yarn needle, or you can sort of single crochet over top of it. If you're giving this as a gift and you want to make sure that it's not going to pop out after a wash or 2, it's recommended that you weave in the tail. And I just do that by poking it through the backs of some of the stitches I made in that row using my yarn needle. Weave it back and forth a couple times, and that's it. Grab the next color you're going to use for border row number 2. For me, that's this nice bright yellow, and I'm going to make the whole row in this color. Put a slip knot on your hook. Pick up the same far top right corner, so you're still on the march square. In the top corner, this would be the chain 2 space of your first border row. You're going to join with a slip stitch. And because we're going to do a row of double crochet, we're going to chain 3 to begin. This is going to count as a double crochet. You're going to double crochet into that same space, chain 2, and work 2 more double crochet into the same space. So that is your corner. 2 double crochet, chain 2, 2 double crochet. Then you're just going to double crochet into the top of every single stitch you made in the previous row. So double crochet in every stitch, and when you get up to a chain 2 corner space, so the other one will be all the way across the top here. So your next chain 2 corner space, when you get to that, you're going to work 2 double crochet, chain 2, 2 double crochet, and just keep on double crocheting in every single stitch all the way around. And I will see you when you get back up to the beginning. Once you finish row 2, you get all the way back around to the beginning, you're going to find the top of the chain 3 that you began with and join with a slip stitch. Couple of notes. For those of you who are not changing color or maybe using your own Wonder Ball and you're not going to fasten off here, you just want to do this. Chain 3, count that as a double crochet into the top of the next stitch, and that will bring you up to the corner. You're going to work 2 double crochet, chain 2, 2 double crochet into that corner, and you're going to continue working the exact same pattern all the way around for row 3. That's a double crochet in the top of every stitch and 2 double crochet, chain 2, 2 double crochet in every corner space. That is if you are not changing colors or you're using your own Wonder Ball and you're not fastening off. For those of you who are fastening off and changing colors, we're going to do this. You've finished row 2 with your first color. You've joined with a slip stitch to the top of the chain 3. You're going to snip your yarn, fasten off, and you can weave in your tail using your yarn needle or work over top of it as you work your next row. Either way, you want to take a moment and just weave it in or get it set up so that you can work over top of it. Like I said, if you're giving it away as a gift, you might want to weave in your little tails a little more tightly just so they don't go anywhere. For those of us working row 3 with a completely different ball of yarn or color, put a slip knot on your hook, pick up your top right corner, which will be the chain 2 corner of your marked square all the way at the top, join with a slip stitch in that corner space, chain 3 to begin. This chain 3 will count as a double crochet. Finish the corner by working another double crochet, chain 2, and 2 more double crochets into that corner space. And now row 3 is just like row 2. You're going to double crochet in the top of every single stitch and work 2 double crochet, chain 2, 2 double crochet in every single corner space. And I'll catch back up with you at the end of row 3. Once you're all the way back round to the beginning of row 3, you can join with a slip stitch to the top of the first chain 3 that you made and fasten off. Take a moment to weave in your tail. Alright, we have completed row 1 of our border, which was single crochet, row 2 and row 3, which were solid double crochet rows, and we are now at the 4th and final row of our blanket border. There is a little bonus row you can add in at the end if you have enough of your color left over, but it's not necessary, and I'll get to that when we're done row 4. So, put a slip knot on your hook. We are back to our original border color. For me, that is white. We're going to join with a slip stitch in the top right hand corner space. We're going to chain 3 to begin, and this should look very familiar to you if you've done all these blanket squares along with me. We are going to do a standard granny shell stitch border. You're going to work 2 more double crochet into that space. So including your chain 3, you've got a shell, which is 3 double crochet. So every shell is 3 double crochet. Chain 2, work 3 more double crochet into the same chain 2 corner space. 3 double crochet is 1 shell. So your corner spaces all get shell, chain 2, shell, or 3 double crochet, chain 2, 3 double crochet. Chain 1 as you leave the corner. Skip the first 3 stitches, find the 4th, and work a shell into it, or 3 double crochets. Chain 1, You're going to make a chain 1 in between every single shell all the way along every side, skip 3 stitches, find the 4th, and work another shell into it, or 3 double crochet. And that's the pattern all the way across. Work a shell or 3 double crochet into every 4th stitch. Make sure you chain 1 in between shells, and just keep on going. I'll catch up with you at the next corner. As you're nearing the end of the first side of row 4, you should find that you've got 5 stitches left before you get to your chain 2 space. So you've worked a shell, a chain 1, and now you have this odd number of 5 stitches left. So we're going to work our next shell in the 3rd stitch. So you're going to skip 2 stitches, work a shell in the 3rd stitch, chain 1, and then skip the next 2 stitches and work your shell, chain 2 shell into the corner space. So that's how you finish the little shell stitch pattern on the first side of row 4. It's also how you're going to complete the bottom row. So when you get all the way around to the 3rd side of this blanket, you're going to do the same thing. So you're going to work shell, chain 2 shell, chain 1 into the corner, skip 3 stitches, work a shell, chain 1 all the way across, and when you get to the end of your 3rd row, so the bottom of your blanket, you're going to do the same thing. Skip 2, shell, chain 1, skip 2, shell, chain 2 shell into the corner. Always chain 1 coming out of the corner, and we're going to work down our first long side doing the same thing. Skip 3 stitches, find the 4th, work a shell, chain 1, and then skip 3 stitches, find the 4th, work 3 double crochet or a shell, chain 1, repeat all the way down, and I'll catch up with you at the next corner. As you get down the end of your first long side, or the second side of our 4th border row, you're going to find that your last shell, chain 1, fits in exactly 3 stitches before your chain 2 space. So your 2 long sides are going to work out pretty much perfectly. So just work a shell, chain 1 into every 4th stitch all the way down and up your 2 long sides. Work shell, chain 2 shell into every single corner space, and remember that when you get to the end of your second short side or across the bottom of your blanket, you're going to have 5 stitches left. So your last shell will be here. You'll chain 1, you'll have 5 stitches left. You'll skip 2, work a shell, chain 1, and skip the last 2 and work shell, chain 2 shell into the corner 2, chain 2 space. Then turn and work your skip 3 stitches, shell, chain 1 into the 4th all the way up your other long side, and I will catch back up with you at the beginning. We are almost done. Once you're back to the beginning of your 4th row, work your last shell, chain 1, and then skip across to the top of the chain 3 you began the row with and join with a slip stitch. You can be completely finished here. You can snip your yarn, fasten off, and weave in your tail, or if you want to do the final little bonus row, and that's only if you have enough yarn left over, you're going to need about 50 grams, I'd say. You can play yarn chicken with this if you want. We're just going to repeat the first row of our border pattern. So we can chain 1, single crochet into the same stitch that we joined in, single crochet into the next 2 stitches. That will bring you up to the first chain 2 space. Work single crochet, chain 2, single crochet into it, and then single crochet into every single stitch and every single chain 1 space all the way across until you get to the next chain 2 space, which is a corner, and work single crochet, chain 2, single crochet into it. So you're basically just adding a little extra to that last row. It's going to make that last bit of white a bit thicker, and the single crochet row will give it just a little bit more strength And it's a nice way to use up the yarn if you have it. If you don't, you can finish off row 4 and be done. That's just fine. But this last little bonus row you can add in if you like. That's what I'm going to do just to finish it off completely. And once you get back around to the beginning, you can join with a slip stitch to that first single crochet you made, fasten off, weave in your tails, and we're done. The 2017 calendar blanket. And there it is, the 2017 calendar blanket, all finished. Now, of course, you can make this blanket for any year. It doesn't just have to be 2017. So if you're just tuning in now and this is the first you've seen of it, go ahead and start. Nothing's stopping you. You can also use any one of these motifs repeated to make your own blanket. So if you're totally in love with bunnies or teddy bears or snowmen, there's no reason why you couldn't just make an entire blanket out of those. And if you visit our Etsy shop and look at the individual square patterns we've got up, you'll see that we've got pictures up of how a blanket with all of those squares repeated would look. So that's fun if you want to give that a try too. Thank you guys so much for coming along on this adventure with me. I really appreciate all of the fun comments and the excitement that you've shown over this whole year. It's been a really great project. And now that it's done, and you guys can finish up your blankets and get them wrapped up, before you do, make sure you take a picture and share it with me. I would love to see your finished blankets. Some of you have already started to share pictures of them on Instagram and Pinterest and Google+ with me. Make sure you tag me so I can see them. And I just love it. I love seeing how everybody's blankets are so individualized to each of us. It's just been such a thrill. So make sure you keep those pictures coming. And now that this is done, we can head into December and get some holiday crochet on. So we will see you guys all the way back here next week in time for another crochet tutorial. Until then, stay safe, stay crafty, and have an awesome week. Bye, everybody.